Well, hello again and welcome to Baking Bad. This is episode 12 and the last episode we did malt loaf, so I thought we'd stay with the sweet stuff, and today we're going to make a classic English biscuit that is probably the most favourite biscuit in the United Kingdom, which is the Digestive, or otherwise known as the Hobnob. The Hobnob just has slightly more oats, so we're kind of using slightly more oats. And we'll get onto the oats when we get onto the oats. But to begin with, we're going to be using some of this lovely stuff. This is Carr's wholemeal flour. Now, you don't want very strong wholemeal flour because we're not making bread, we're making short biscuits. And the reason they're short is because there's quite a bit of butter going in. So we have 80 grams of cold, not extremely cold, but cold, sort of pretty much out of the fridge, and I like to cube it because we're going to be rubbing that into the flour, and that's a classic technique for a lot of pastry, is rubbing butter into flour. So flour, 100 grams of wholemeal flour. That's a great start there. That's 131 grams, that's 108. Well, that's 104, 103. There we go, 100 grams of wholemeal flour. Next, 80 grams of unsalted butter. There is salt in this recipe, but I like to control the amount of salt, whereas the amount of salt in butter is pretty random. You don't really know how much salt is in the butter when you buy ready salted butter. So, very easy to start with, and what we're going to do is just rub the butter into the flour until it has the consistency of breadcrumbs. Right. Okay, I'm going to add just a touch more flour to rub in. So maybe 110 grams or 105 grams. I'm just going to rub that in a bit more. Like so, so we have a nice crumbly texture. There we go. Okay, next we are going to add 40 grams of soft brown sugar. Good. 40 grams of soft brown sugar. A quarter of a teaspoon, and not much more than that, of bicarbonate of soda. They do actually rise a little bit. And now the magic ingredient. Right, it says here that this family has been milling oats since 1675, and these are my favourite oats. They're made by Mornflake, and they're the Scottish jumbo oats. And these are absolutely fantastic, and we're going to have 80 grams of these. These are really tough, strong oats. And these are really, really lovely biscuits. Okay, and another magic ingredient is salt. About 1/3 of a teaspoon. Maybe not even that. 1/4 to 1/3 of a teaspoon of salt. Tiny bit more. Okie dokie. And where's my milk? I'll rub this in. I did have some milk out. Mix that all together, the bicarb and the oats, rub it all together like that, and we want to bring it into a dough, and this should make about 8 to 10, maybe 12 biscuits. I like to roll them quite thin. They do puff up in the oven. Not a massive amount because of the bicarb, but just enough. Excellent. Right. So, start off with 1 tablespoon of milk. You may need more, but it can be a bit of a nightmare if you have less. So I'm just going to stir that in with a spoon. If you put too much milk in, you're going to have to top up all the other ingredients because you don't want a wet, sticky dough. Let's just feel how that's coming together. It doesn't feel too bad actually. Yep, it's starting to come together as a dough. A nice old mixture. It's not a massive amount, but you can double up the ingredients to make loads more biscuits if you want. And here we go. We don't really want to knead it, but we do want to just work it together like so. Into a nice sort of rollable dough. I don't know whether it might need the tiniest bit more liquid. I'll say tiny. Oh no. The dog will have that piece. So, there we go. Right, now between 2 sheets of cling film. In fact, you don't need 2 sheets of cling film, you just need to cling film it up. As you can see, it's not a very large piece of dough, but it does chill down very, very nicely when you have it nice and thin in a slab like that. So that's what we'll do, and so I'm going to sit that in the fridge for about a half an hour to 40 minutes to really chill down, and then we'll get on and roll it out, shape the biscuits and get them baking. Very nice, easy, quick bake this one, but very rewarding. See you in about 40 minutes, which is fun, isn't it? See you in about 40 minutes. Okay folks, 45 minutes have passed. Here is our dough, very nicely chilled. Doesn't actually look like very much, but we'll get a few nice biscuits out of it. And remember, you can always double or half as much again the ingredients. And it does smell rather good. Now, what I like to do is you need to flour your surface just very lightly. Like so. And to get an even thickness on the biscuit, I like to roll using a couple of table mats, and if you have a look, the camera can have a look at the gap. There you go, you get a nice even flat even thickness on all your biscuits. Now I've got some trays here ready, and a fork, because you like to prick the biscuits so they have that classic look about them. And first thing is we just need to roll out the dough. It's all crumbly and crackly. then you can start to roll out. Still not down to the right thickness yet. Let's just get a palette knife and try and separate this like so. That's a bit better. Let's flip it over. Yep, a little way to go yet. A little bit of flour on the old rolling penny. And keeping it between these mats means that you get a nice even thickness. We are not there yet, but we will be. Ah, that feels better. Yes. Okay, let's just make sure we haven't stuck it to the tabletop, which is all pretty easy stuff to do. So, no great techniques involved here. But this is a great technique to get a nice even thickness. And as the dough warms up, it gets slightly easier to operate. Now that's the kind of size biscuit that I like. I have a range of cutters here. That one's just slightly too big, that one's slightly too small, and this one's just right. So, let's get in and get cutting a few biscuits. There you go. Lovely stuff. And we'll just plop them on the baking tray as we go. Nice. Yeah, they're all the same thickness. That's the important bit. I wonder if we can get 4 in there. Probably can. There's one. There's another. And then what we'll do is we'll just recombine the dough and do the whole process all over again. And we'll just squidge the dough back up. Of course, as it warms, it gets easier to manipulate. Tiny bit of flour. Really must invest in one of these things. They are really, really neat. I think Sainsbury's do them. Or there's another place I go called Hobbycraft, and they have a wonderful baking department. A bit of flour on the end. Better. Nice. Stick together. Lovely. Can we get full? I think I've got another tray here. Yes, he has got another tray. There we go. Spread these out. And this recipe does make really lovely, crumbly, short, digestive biscuits. Now when I first got hold of the recipe, I tweezed it around a bit myself and it didn't taste right. And I made another batch and that didn't taste quite right either. And all the different recipes, there are about 4 or 5 different recipes that I used. And none of them had this magic ingredient, and the magic ingredient was salt. So you go and get a shop bought digestive, which let's face it, are pretty damn good. And that is the missing ingredient, is salt. So you don't put the salt in, you just don't get that hit. Lovely. Looks like this is going to work out just right. Very nice. Again, scrunch up your dough. We're nearly there. Get that into a ball. Any loose crumbs. And of course, while you're doing this, you need to get your oven up to speed, and you want your oven at 170 for this, so not scorchingly hot, but 170 degrees. Nice. And it looks like we're going to get a perfect fit. Yeah, we'll get one more out of that. So that amount, the 100 grams of flour, looks to provide 12 biscuits. And of course, once you've baked them, you can of course paint them with chocolate, so you have a chocolate hobnob, also a lovely treat. Sorry while I fart about. Come on, get one more out of there. There we go. Lovely. Okay. If you like cookie dough, what I might do actually is just plop that to one side for a bit of a laugh. Right, get your fork and just prick them through like that. The classic kind of, don't have to go very deep, but you'll notice on all the digestive biscuits, just quickly rush through these, they all have those little holes. This is a absolutely lovely recipe. And then we shall get these in and bake between 10 and 12 minutes. Again, a nice easy bake for Baking Bad. I think what I might do for Baking Bad 13 is a really lovely sticky fudgy chocolate cake with a ganache frosting. And I'm going to show you how to temper chocolate and make some handmade chocolate leaves, and then we're going to spray them gold and decorate the cake with them with some raspberries, and it looks absolutely spectacular. And I made this recently for a friend whose father was celebrating his 90th birthday, and the cake was befitting of such an occasion. It looked absolutely fantastic. She was absolutely thrilled to bits. So here we go. Here's our funny misshapen one that can just sit there. 10 to 12 minutes into the oven. And away we go. Simple as. Boom. 170 degrees, 10 to 12 minutes. What's the time now? okie dokie, when it's about 5 to, we'll get them out. So I'm going to do between 10 and 12, but I'll have a little look, see how we go, and we'll be back when we pull them out of the oven. Thank you. Okie dokie, I've let 12 minutes pass. Now look at these. Rock and roll kung fu oven gloves. The very lovely Charlotte Rush sent me these gloves in the post. I didn't even know they were arriving. They just appeared out of the blue, and as a belated 60th birthday present. Thank you very much, Charlotte. They're so appreciated, and these are now going to be my go-to oven gloves. So these are the new kung fu oven gloves. Check those out. So before the biscuits turn to carbon, we shall turn the oven off. Oh yes, that's the kind of colour we're looking for. And there you go.
They smell delicious.
They smell delicious. Now, I have to say, this was your request, wasn't it, hon?
It was.
So, Ro requested that I do digestives, and digestives we have got. And when you use the baking parchment, they literally just slip off. Now, they are ever so slightly soft when you get them out, and then they harden up. Mr. Asbestos hands, they harden up as they cool down. And there's lots of different recipes. My recipe has slightly extra butter, so they're slightly extra shorter, but they are all the same thickness, and that's the important thing when you roll the dough out between. I use table mats. You can use anything, but to get an even spacing on the thickness, you get a nice even spacing that way. And this is the strange misshapen one. It's got your name on it, honey.
That's a little runt.
It's a little runt with your name on it. Hey, excellent. So there we go. We're just going to let those cool down, because as they cool down, they then become very short, very crumbly, and very nice. At the moment, they're slightly bendy because the butter in them is still squidgy. So there you go, digestives. We will come back once they've cooled down, and the person who requested these is going to try them and give you her verdict on them. But you can use, you can add ginger to them, maybe a little small bit of chopped fruit. It's a basic biscuit recipe that you can make loads and loads of different biscuits from. But very easy to do. And we'll see you when Ro gets to try them a little later. But right now, we're going to cook dinner. So we shall see you in a little while. I thank you. Okay, well, here we are. The biscuits have cooled down. We have had dinner. And Rosemary's going to make her selection, because it was you, my lovely, that decided.
Yeah, you've done these a few times though, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you've perfected this one, but they are very lovely. Look, listen to this.
Ooh.
It's just, they're really perfect thickness as well. Those table mats did the trick.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Very good. It's the butter though, isn't it? The butter's delicious.
And the right salt.
Perfect.
Brilliant. That is the recipe, folks. If Rose says it's perfect, that is the recipe.
Yeah, it's perfect, because you miss it when it's not there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my first early batches, I didn't have any salt, because none of the recipes said to use salt, and I kept saying, something's missing, missing, and I whacked in a load of salt one day, and there it was.
They are delicious.
That's the profile. So there they are.
These are probably the best you've made, you know.
Oh, thank you. There we go. Digestives, digestive biscuits, or hobnobs, because we use the big, fat, jumbo Mornflake oats, and that's the secret. If you use just like your regular porridge oats that you'd get from the supermarket, they kind of crumble and disintegrate and fall apart.
Same as with flapjack, isn't it?
Yeah.
It goes all mushy.
Yeah, use Mornflake in flapjack. I probably won't do a baking bag flapjack, because that's just a bit of a rip-off.
I think you should, they're delicious.
It's such an easy thing to make. Okay, right, I will. I should do a baking bad.
You could do
Flapjack. Here we go.
Flapjack on steroids, couldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I could do a flapjack on steroids. I'll just take loads of steroids and then make flapjack.
Oh look, the dog really wants some as well.
Wolfdalini, the biscuits aren't for you. They contain things that hurt dogs. You've got lots of lovely dog circles though. So, okay folks, that's your digestive biscuits. A really quick, fast, easy thing, no proving time. Just a little bit of dough chilling in the fridge. And there you go. The next thing I'm going to be doing for Baking Bad 13 is a unctuous, sticky, fudgy chocolate cake with a ganache frosting. And I'm going to show you how to temper chocolate and make your own handmade leaves. Chocolate leaves, which we will then spray gold and decorate the cake with some raspberries, and it will look fantastic. So, see you then. Bye.